Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining. Today's conversation is about Christmas and how it's a season that's really recognized for celebration, festivity, togetherness. But on the back of that, there's also something known as a Blue Christmas. And my guest today is Ruth, the vicar at I was going to say St. Barnabas Church, but that's not it. St. John's. St.
St.
John's Church.
John's, yeah. And
Yeah.
I'm the curate there. Kim's in charge. I'm just the apprentice. So.
And we're going to together have a conversation to support people who might be experiencing what a Blue Christmas is. So without further ado, Ruth, would you like to tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm Ruth. I'm married to Chris, and I have two children, Grace and Dan, who are 17 and 20. As well as being a part-time curate, I also work in Hope Cafe, which is in St. Barnabas. Just to confuse things, it's a social enterprise cafe where we employ people who wouldn't easily get a different job, and hopefully over a 12 to 18-month program, give them both confidence and competence to be able to move on to what would be thought of as the normal situation after that. So people who don't have a lot of academic qualifications, or for some other reason have a chaotic or difficult mental health, or all sorts of different reasons. So we hopefully try and normalize work for them. I'm working as a curate. Part of what we've done this year for Christmas is put on a Blue Christmas service, which is is an opportunity to reflect and just take a kind of a time out of the busyness of Christmas, all the sparkly lights and the joy that Christmas does bring. But this is just an opportunity to remember the things that aren't quite so good in our lives, and hopefully to bring some hope of a different way of looking at those things and offer them to God, so that we can be aware that we've given them to Him, hoping that He's going to help us work through them, or find good memories of those people that we're missing, all those kind of things.
Amongst all the tinsels and lights and joy that Christmas in the mainstream brings, it's really important to remember that behind the scenes of that, there's people who are going through great suffering. For example, my husband, when he was 3 years old, his mother died on Christmas Eve. For Italians, Christmas Eve is like their Christmas day.
Yeah.
So all of his childhood, Christmas was a Blue Christmas for his family.
Yeah, sure.
A time of remembrance. They obviously didn't celebrate Christmas for years because it felt like a betrayal that they lost their mum on that day. He remembered Christmas morning waking up to his dad sobbing for many, many years. It's important to understand that not everybody's in the festivity. And if you're not, it's also okay. It's also okay. So this initiative that you've got going at St. John's is amazing, to give hope, give joy, give support, hold space for people. And what does it look like? If somebody's watching right now and they want to tap in, or they want to join the support that's available, what do you offer?
Sure. So last Sunday we had a service where it was just a space for people to come and to reflect together. So we had music to listen to, we had prayers, we sang Abide With Me, we lit candles for people, and we remembered the situations or the people that we were missing or concerned about, and wrote them on cards to stick on the Christmas tree, so that they are part of our Christmas as well. That, we can't forget the people that we've loved and lost. We can't forget the things that weigh heavy on our mind, but we want them to be given to God in a way that He can renew hope in us, allow us the space to just give them to God. Sounds a bit trite, but just to mark the fact that we're giving them to God in a way that you can't deny that you've done it. It's not just a prayer in your head, but you've actually physically done something. And ask for His love and hope and joy to restore us, or to hold us and comfort us in the grief and loss that we're feeling, the difficulties and the emotions that brings. Your husband must still pain him when he thinks about Christmas all these years later. And I know for me, I lost my mum 18 months ago. So Christmas is never going to be the same as it was when I celebrated with her. So there's always going to be a pain to the fact that she's not seeing, she's not part of. I can't ask her about that recipe for bread sauce or whatever it is. There's always going to be things that aren't quite the same because those people aren't with us. We don't want to deny that or try and put on a brave face all the time, but actually acknowledge that the pain is there, and actually grief and pain is there because we love them. Without love, you don't have grief. It doesn't matter then.
Yeah.
So, the grief is part of love in a way. And, whatever difficulties that we continue to go through, there is a way that God is going to help us through it, give us the strength that we need, give us light at the end of the tunnel, or hope now that we can see a different way forward. Particularly when we're going through health issues or job insecurities, it's very difficult to kind of even put that aside. And you don't necessarily want to bring it into other people's Christmas either and weigh the people down.
Yes.
So we hope that by giving some space to it, we can support each other through this Christmas time, allow an acknowledgement that not everything is tinsel and sparkly lights, but some things are hard to carry at this time.
Bereavement in the family is a big one at any time. It's particularly big at Christmas time because I think in all of our busyness in life, the one time that most families, even in conflict, make time to be together is at Christmas time.
Yeah.
And the idea of gathering at such an important time of the year and that person isn't there, it's really tough. I had my first Christmas without my dad last year. Although he died in March, I think I spoke to you about this before. Although he died in March, it felt like by Christmas I'll be fine, or it was like it all came back again. The idea that his seat is going to be empty was a big one. I love what you said about hope, right? Because very often we're just picturing we've arrived at a destination, like whatever that destination is, like we've healed, we've overcome. I hope that tomorrow will be okay. I hope that I'll get through the next hour. I hope that I will feel his love or presence. Hope for me now is such a beautiful, joyful word. And when you feel like you can't, you can always open your heart and space for a little bit of hope.
Yeah,
to surround yourself with people who are hopeful together with you, I think is a beautiful thing that you're doing in the community.
So many of us try to squash the painful emotions down and, pretend that it's not there. And then not only do we not really experience the joys of Christmas because we're so busy trying to keep control on everything else, but also we can't be the people that we're created to be if we're fighting with these emotions all the time. And I think we want to be able to have the space to acknowledge them and express them in a way that is helpful to us. So acknowledge the fact that you're going to miss your dad or I'm going to miss my mum. Acknowledge the fact that that's part of Christmas now. The memories that we treasure of Christmases past or gatherings past that we've enjoyed with them, those are part of our Christmas now. And we may not make any more with them, but we'll make more with other people. So, we'll have time at Christmas to share things that Granny would have done with my children, because she was a key part of our Christmas, a key part of our life. We don't want to be in a situation where we're like, well, we can't mention Granny, because that wouldn't be right. We want these people that we've loved and lost to be part of ongoing. Because we can still learn from our relationships with them. We can still thrive in what we treasure of the relationships that we've had with them, and hopefully they can color in a good way future relationships. The trust that we learn from them, or the skills that they brought to the table, we can learn to treasure those and to see them in other people as well.
So beautiful. And it's so true that during Christmas and festive times where people will feel more of their emotions, I think there's something really courageous and beautiful about leaning into all the feelings, right? Leaning into, if it's sadness or wanting to cry or wanting to maybe just have some quiet time. It's okay to feel all those emotions. Somebody's waving.
Excuse my husband coming home.
I think it's quite brave to open your heart to experience all that there is to experience in our aliveness, right? Because who knows what happens in the afterlife. I like to think of my heart as a donor heart. You've inherited somebody's heart. That heart's been functioning for somebody else, but now it's in me. if you get a good heart, it's worked well. It meant he's recovered, he's gone through pain, he's experienced everything. So I kind of want my heart to experience all that there is to experience. And I would rather, like my dad used to say, I'd rather you guys bury me than I bury you. That's the right order of life. I also like to think that I'm experiencing life in God's divine order. This is like the most perfect order, that the Father I love so much that it pained me when he's not around. But I also liked what you're saying about including them, even if we can't see them at our table. So we started a new tradition last year where my children would do impressions of what Granddad would be saying if he was here, right there,
Excellent.
and telling his jokes. And Christmas being such a season of tradition, what's really cool is that we can make our own traditions to include them, not in the physical, but they're very much present. And that could look like, you know, mimicking them or sharing their recipes or cooking something they could have enjoyed. We just have to be open to be creative, maybe through other means and ways to fill their presence. So what is the one step if somebody's really struggling? I mean, we've talked a lot about grief, but they're struggling because this cost of living, maybe changes and shifts in their career, maybe changes and shifts in their physical health. If somebody's really struggling and they can't even hang on to hope, what is the first step to sort of comfort them?
I suppose for me, I would say talk about it to God if you have a faith, because I know that God will help you. And I talk to them about how you're feeling, what you're missing, what's going wrong that maybe you don't show to the rest of the world. And that might be your partner, it might be your best friend, it might be your cousin. But if you don't, then maybe speak to a trusted friend, somebody who is on your side in another part of the world. But, you know, talk to somebody, because actually, even talking about it, you put it into different words than the ones that are going around in your head and your heart. And just verbalizing it can be really helpful in actually, what am I scared of? What am I afraid of? What is really going wrong? So that can really help. I think talking to God, make it a conversation with whoever you're having this, whoever you're telling, allow them to speak back to you. And you know, if you are talking to God, then just listen to says back to you in your prayers, what verses he directs you to in the Bible, what or other faith book, whatever people he brings into your life that just make a throwaway comment that actually might enlighten you, might give you hope. Even what adverts you see on the TV that might be a way forward. I think there's, sit down and send it out to the world. Don't do a blog that you're going to get a load of comments back on that isn't going to be helpful to you. Make sure that you choose wisely who you speak to. And if you don't have anyone that you feel you can trust with it, then things like Samaritans or confidential and empowering to you to be able to say what's missing, may be able to point you to places that can help you. They maybe just listen to you and acknowledge your feelings, which is kind of important. If all of that is impossible, then maybe write it down, because again, when we write it down, we write it in words that are different from how we would say it. And writing it down, and then not to send to anyone, but to give to God, to burn in the fire, whatever that. But even the process of writing it down means that we think about it in a different way. And there may be, in reading back what you've written, there might be enlightenment in terms of, oh, I didn't realize that's what I meant. I thought it was more about this. And it may be that you want to keep the letter for a while. Helplines, Silver line and Kids line, where you can speak to somebody who will hopefully listen to you in a way that is so that you can reread it in 6 months' time and see what has moved, what has changed, how you've progressed or moved on from that situation. It may be that it's something that you could share with somebody, but not at the time. Those are the things that I would say as a first step. As a Christian, I think that talking to God is going to be the most useful thing. Listening to what he says, whether it's words in the Bible that he directs me to, or mature Christian friends that he would put in my path, then those are the things that I think are going to hopefully will give me back some hope and give me back some perspective and some different ways of dealing with things, whatever the issue is.
That's really, really useful and nice and simple and practical that somebody can apply immediately to try and shift feeling stark, lost, no clarity, maybe some confusion. There is so much power in journaling. In the absence of being able to reach out to somebody and talk to somebody, you're so right.
Yeah.
Allowing your mind to empty out, convey your feelings and emotions on paper so you can read
Yeah.
it, have a different perspective around it, so that you can maybe get a new advice, get new wisdom, be able to approach whatever you're struggling with from a different place. I also love how much church and Christianity and also life coaching offers individuals the opportunity to be present within themselves, present with God, higher source, divine, whatever the spiritual faith is, and also present with their emotions, like not to run away from it, but just to be present in, this is where I am. We all have this need to feel seen, heard, and understood.
Yeah.
You get to see yourself, you get to, in the Bible, I think you're going to help me on this one, seek to understand. Understand before you can be understood, right? So it is that seeking clarity to understand, why am I here? What am I feeling? What am I going through? Like, there's so much power in questions. In being present with the emotion, it also helps you to process the next step. Try to process what's going on and what can I learn from it as well, because sometimes we get inspiration also from desperation. The fact that I'm so desperate, I'm so hurt, I'm so broken, I'm so lost, I'm so confused, I'm so blue, whatever the description is. What am I supposed to do with this? And that conversation with yourself or with God or with a friend or with a coach or with a counselor can give you answers that actually can be powerful for your next chapters, to rewrite your next chapters.
Sure.
Once you've been present with it, process it, make a commitment in taking the smallest first action. That might be doing something you don't feel like doing. Like, okay, I'm going to go to this evening's church service. I don't really want to sit with people, but I'm going to take the smallest action and go and light a candle, or you've got Christmas decorations that they can write something on it, hang it on the tree. Be willing to be a little bit uncomfortable, but it's the smallest step towards getting healed. Today's the beginning of the rest of my life. Like, during my dad's time, I allowed myself, a period of time to feel sad and cry and not be dressed or whatever. But at some point, I started to almost hear my dad say, right, Emma, enough now. Enough now. Come on, I want to see you smile. I want to point down from heaven and say, see that girl celebrating and living her life? That's my daughter. I don't want to point people from up here and they're just seeing you in bed crying, So sometimes also we do it not just for us. We do it because there's people who are no longer here wanting to celebrate us. And I do it as a mom also because, and help is a people. There's so many people, strangers even care, like I'll be a stranger at your church and you'll give me a hug and show that you see me, understand me, you've been there. We've all got that lived humanity and shared experiences that you'll find support in the most oddest places, but it starts by taking the smallest baby steps to heal and overcome.
Definitely. I think if you look in the Psalms, in the Bible, or in the Hebrew scriptures, you find that it's something like at least 30% of them have that emotional torment within them. There's really sad, feeling abandoned, feeling rejected, feeling lost. So, it's perfectly all right. It's part of the human experience to feel like that. And just to turn that into a song of worship eventually is amazing. So, but you need to go through those down times to be able to appreciate the light and the joy of the up times. And to take that away is not appropriate in the long term. In the short term, you need to, it may be that it's too much at one moment, but you need to be able to go through those hard times to really see that you can be rescued from them, to know hope and to know joy. I'm not saying anybody should never be depressed. There will always be depression, there will always be sadness, there will always be things that need medical intervention, that need hope from that situation.
My children are watching me.
And
I want to teach them it's okay to feel sad, but at some point it's okay to ask for help.
But there are ways to look for hope that don't, just in fact, the fact that you're not alone, that you're not the only one who's been through these pains and this distress. There is a way through, there is a way out of it.
Yeah.
Even even though we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, we know that our God is with us and he is protecting us and hoping to bring us through to a place of comfort and rest, even when we feel like we're in the midst of the lowest low. There is hope.
There is always hope, and there is always love, and there's always support as well. So
Yeah.
it's good that we don't have to walk down the valley on our own, and that, like, you've experienced your version of depression or anxiety, I have mine. And to speak about it and to normalize and know that everybody goes through it. It might not look like yours, or it's not the same. Somebody that's gone through it, that's overcome it, that's survived it, and they want to help. People who've also gone through it are particularly compassionate and sympathetic and have the empathy to just, I now have a big heart because I didn't understand it. I always thought, like, how old was your dad when he died? 80. Oh, that's all right. I didn't understand.
Yeah, he had a good life.
He had a good life. I was compassionate, but I think there's something more to compassion, which is empathy. I know exactly where you are, and I can speak to that pain, or I can just come and sit with you in that pain and just witness it with you. And like we
And I
say,
think that's it, isn't it? If you've got friends or family who are going through a time of pain and difficulty, you don't have to have clever words. In fact, clever words probably are the least thing that somebody wants, but just to be able to sit with and hold hands, or watch nonsense on the telly, or just to be with and not have to try and make jokes or make good conversation. A cup of tea, and that's fine. You don't need to have all the bells and whistles of food and drink. You can just spending time with people is so important, and acknowledging that things aren't right, that not trying to pretend that everything is okay is it can be such a relief that you don't have to pretend. It can be such a relief that that somebody cares enough just to spend time with you, just to waste time with you. That is actually a really being a really good friend, I think. Just to invite somebody into that space with you is good.
Absolutely. There's something nice about giving as well as receiving. So people who think, I can't ask for help, I don't want to look weak, or I don't want to bother them. Most people don't reach out for help because they feel like they're bothering somebody. There is a real gift and an honor you give to somebody when they come to sit with you. My son's home, and you can hear all that background noise.
The joys of family.
Yes, there is a real gift in being the giver, right? So don't hold back asking for your friends, family, community, whatever, your priest. Ask for help, because there is so much joy in being there for other people. And, when you find your way to the next chapter, you'll also experience the pleasure of being there for somebody who is going through something similar that you've overcome, because you're understanding, you understood the importance of people being there for each other.
Yeah.
Ruth, do you have any closing words to say?
Any great wisdom? No.
Of course,
you
dropped many, but yeah.
I think my closing wisdom would be, my closing words would be that I feel like I should have had something prepared here. That actually, life is a tapestry of highs and lows, of good and bad, and so often we are too busy looking at all the knots and the long stitches to go from one place to another. But actually, what God wants us to do is to look at the picture that we're making, and He can see why there needed to be a long stitch to get from A to B, because that bit meant that you could have that beautiful color in a different way on the front. So don't get too caught up in all the knots and tears and complications of the back of the tapestry, but actually take a step and look at the front and the richness that has been made because of all the people that have impacted you and been part of your life to develop new aspects of you and different ways of looking at things.
That's beautiful. And I'll just add, Ruth and I met through St. John's Church that recently hosted a community event. The community event, the purpose was to bring people in Barnet together to create a quilt. Every participant had the opportunity to create one little square of the quilt, and there was a variety of tools and material to create your little quilt section, whether batik, sewing, tie and dye painting, collage, whatever it was. And number one, it was so amazing to see like over 50 people from different ages, ethnicity, background come together. Everybody's expression of whatever they wanted to create was completely different. There was no two pieces of work that looked identical or even similar. Everybody's creative expression was completely different. And the unveiling was a couple of weeks ago. And seeing it hanging, amazing eclectic piece of work. And it was kind of like life and our experiences and emotions. Each square I feel a bit complicated or a bit hard. But when you eventually take a step back and look at it as a collage of work that my life came to experience, sunshine, rainbows, pain, valleys, peaks, overcoming, healing, abandonment, forgiveness, whatever it was, eventually you create this masterpiece of your own life. So wherever you are right now, as difficult as it is, know that it is creating your own masterpiece of this journey that you're walking into, with friends, with family, with colleagues, with your community, with God. It's all part of the divine expressing himself through you so that you can get to the next best version of yourself. I also believe that I won't be losing my dad, and first time I've lost somebody really close to me, cracked open my heart and soul in a way that I feel like there's a new version of me evolving, and that crack wouldn't be there without that loss. So everything is happening in his perfect divine order, and know that this too shall pass. Know that this too shall pass. Ruth, thank you so much for being here with me to
it's been a pleasure. I think one last thing that I would say, which you may want to edit out anyway, is be kind to yourself. When you're in, be kind to yourself. Don't speak to yourself. Speak to yourself as you would speak to a friend, rather than telling yourself off for being sad or feeling rejected or whatever it is. Be kind to yourself and know that God loves you, whatever is going on.
Yeah. Be kind to yourself and don't compare. What took somebody, whatever timeline they use to heal, doesn't have to look the same as yours. We're all on our own unique journey. And Ruth is absolutely right. That kindness and compassion you offer to yourself, things take what they take to be where they need to be. So be kind to yourself and just trust life. Thank you so much, Ruth.
That's okay.
It's been a
pleasure.
great conversation.
Take care.
Take care, everybody. I hope this helped you. If you need, where do they find you, Ruth? If somebody wants to reach out to you,
the best thing to do is to email me, which is revruthc@gmail.com, and we'll take it from there.
Okay, revruthc@gmail.com. I'm going to drop the email in the comments below. Of course, feel free to reach out to myself and to Ruth if you need any love, any support, any guidance and prayers. All right, then. Take care, everybody. Bye for now.
Take care. Bye.